Let's start with our foundation. It's one of the easier pieces. So what you have is a top and a bottom, and the ring that we use to help us glue the sides into place. I have the 4 pieces that make up the extruded side. I numbered them, a 0, 1, 2, and 3, so that I can glue them in order. I've also pre-folded along the score lines. You'll want to do that for anything before you start gluing them together. Okay, so I'm going to bring out my glue sheet here and let's get started. All right, so I want piece number 0 to begin with. It's going to be our first piece, and our second piece will be number 1. And number 2, and number 3. Now, the only thing to be aware of is that these are not absolutely identical, so you'll want to make sure that you have them the right direction, because if you glue it on this way, it's not going to fit. So you can either go back to your Inkscape file and take a look at which direction they go, or even simpler, as long as you've got the pieces here, we know that it was going to start up here and travel around. So the question is, does it start here? Well, no, this one's very short, you'll see. And that's not going to work very well there, but if we have this and we're going to fold it around, then this one's going to come here. So this is where we're going to attach piece number 1. Once we have one of them, the first one set, the rest of them will follow because there's only a tab on one end. So at that point, you won't be able to get them confused unless you flip them over and you can't tell the front from the back. You can always go back to your Inkscape file and double check. So let's just start. Okay, I'm going to pause this while I get my glue working, and hopefully it will behave a little better now. I like these very small tips on the glue because it doesn't come out as thickly. However, that said, they do clog more easily. So there's piece number 1. This is piece number 2. And we're just lining it up so that it meets against the fold of the tab. Make sure you get a good adherence on that. This is going to be the side of the foundation. On mine, I chose not to cut the decorative pieces because I am pretty sure this is going to look just fine without having anything else on top. This is a nice shiny gray color here that I have. All right, so now here's our long piece, and now all we need to do is put it around our bottom piece or our top piece. So I'm going to start, they're cut the same, one is reverse of the other. So let's go with this one. And I'm just going to glue it along the edges. One thing that you might want to do is start with the long edge. Again, make sure that you're not gluing this incorrectly. So we're going to start here, and I'm going to glue it all the way along this long edge, and that way it gets a good strong grip for the rest of it. It keeps everything stabilized. All right, a little thin piece of glue there. We'll line up this bottom piece. Now for the bottom, you can either glue the tabs to the inside or the outside. I just find it easier to glue it on the inside for this part. It's not going to show on the bottom of your house, so unless somebody lifts it up and looks at it, it's not going to make any difference anyway. All right, so and we'll just keep on going around. I could also glue this into one long loop and fit it in that way. That's an alternative, and it works just as well. So if I would have wanted to glue this all the way back to this side, I could have done that and then just fit everything in. So just to show you how that would work, as opposed to going side by side, we'll go ahead and attach these two pieces together. If you want to, you can shape it and then push the bottom nodes, or the bottom tabs, sorry, been working too much with Inkscape. Push the bottom tabs in and just fold it in like this. And it should all fit in quite nicely once it's done. Once your tab's all facing the right direction. I'm going to put this here. I'm still only going to glue one tab at a time, I think, just to make sure we get a good fit here. It'll go together really quickly. Now, for this one over here, I can either lift up this piece, put some glue here. I know I just said I was going to do one at a time. But in this case, I think I'm going to do these three at the same time. And I'll go ahead and put glue on the other pieces. I just won't adhere them until I'm ready. So that works pretty well. You don't have to do them one at a time, apparently. And then this folds under. Okay. So the next step after we get this glued together, and I'm sure if you've done much paper crafting, 3D paper crafting, you've built things like this a lot, is now we're going to use this piece because it's going to be a lot easier just to get under the edge of that and make sure it's sealed good. So let's put some here on the long piece, and let's get that settled down nice and even. That along the back. Then you can get your fingers in here, line it up. Okay, once you've got a good grip on that, the rest should go into place pretty smoothly. So I'm just going to do all of my tabs right now. Let's put a little bit of glue on each of the tabs here. Well, that was messy. And here. Just choose a spot, start working it in. Might have to nudge things just a little bit. Kind of nudge them into place. Line it up very closely. This part will show, not the top part here, but any seams that you have will show. So you want to make it as neat as you can. The first story is going to sit right on top of this. Make sure those corners are down tight. Okay. Looks like we need a little bit extra here. And once this is on, we're just going to glue on that top piece and be done with it. If for some reason you wanted to put lights here in the base of your foundation and have them shine up all the way through the house, you could do that. Just trying to get this to sit completely straight. There we go. Okay. Then we're just going to put the top on. If you wanted the lights to come up from the center of your foundation, then you could just omit this piece, but I want a good strong base, so I'm going to use this piece. Get here in the corners. Side, near the edges. It doesn't take a lot of glue, but you need to get it close to the edges. And just put this piece on like so. So now we have our two sides. This will be the bottom, obviously, because it has, you can see it's got tabs on it. This side I'll leave against our first floor. I'm not sure why that's not sticking. I'm going to hold that down just a little bit longer. And that's our foundation. So that's step one. Again, if you wanted decorative pieces around the outside, let's say you had this stone pattern, you can cut your decorative pieces out of a stone pattern paper and apply them to the edges around that way.